Morning. Hi, this is our second video. I'm going to be recording a lesson on how to do unit conversions, a very useful skill for general problem solving. Like if you understand unit conversions, you can do a lot with them, especially in business, in physics and chemistry. You will see this technique used extensively. So after that, I'm going to talk about taxes. We're going to get a basic understanding of taxes and how they work and how to compute taxes for a variety of simple situations. So I'm going to use spreadsheets for that. So maybe you can pause this video and open up a spreadsheet program. I use Excel, you can use Google Sheets. Either one of those is going to get you these problems with flying colors. So let's get to it. Go. All right, so unit analysis or unit conversions. Very nice technique. It's kind of elegant, actually. So this is also called unit analysis in chemistry or dimensional analysis. If you hear those words, we're all talking about the same thing. And it's this basic technique where I take one unit, maybe 15 miles an hour, and I want to convert it to another unit, feet per second. Maybe you've seen this before. So the way to start is you got to come up with all your conversions necessary to get from miles to feet. I need to know how many miles are in a foot. And to get from hours to seconds, I need to know the conversions from hours to minutes and minutes to seconds. So once I have all this put together, I can combine this information in a very elegant way. Take 15 miles per hour. That's our start. And we want to get to eventually something that's in feet per second. And when you hear per, that literally means divided by. Remember percent out of 100 per 100. So to make this possible to get from miles per hour to feet per second, we're going to put in several conversions here. Give myself a little more space here. And within each of these conversions, I want to use one of these items in a way so that my units cancel. So I could put 1 mile over 5,280 feet. I can put, since these units are the same, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. This doesn't change my problem. However, notice the units that are left after I add this term here becomes miles times feet. You could say miles squared over feet. So this is like a legitimate computation. That's something, but it doesn't get us closer to where we want to go. So instead, if you ever see that happening, where stuff doesn't kind of get you closer to the goal, try it the other way. Okay, we're going to use that same conversion, but let's put the mile on the bottom now. Check that out. The miles cancel now. Units are just like numbers. They can cancel. And we're left with feet. Ah, we're good there. So now we're just left with the hour. How do we convert the hour to seconds? So we'll repeat. We'll use the same process. How many hours are in 60 seconds? Or how many minutes? Sorry, how many minutes are in 1 hour? If I put 1 hour equals 60 seconds, bam, the hours cancel. That's good. Sorry, 1 hour is in 60 minutes. Excuse me, I'm still waking up maybe. Okay, so now we're closer. Minutes is closer to seconds. So next we're going to use this conversion here. 1 minute is in 60 seconds. Ooh, so now my minutes cancel. And we're left with the units. After all the units have canceled, we're left with the units we want. So then we simply look at all the remaining numbers. Anything that's on the top, we multiply. So we take 15 times 5,280. Anything that's on the bottom, we divide. Divided by 60 times 60. So I'm going to show you how to do this calculation using Desmos, because there's a couple of places you could have a pitfall. I want to save you from falling in a pit. Okay. If I do 15 times 5,280 divided by 60 times 60, Desmos is smart. It's gonna put the 60 on the bottom, and that's the same thing as saying this here. So our answer is 22 feet per second. So our answer is 22 feet per second. That's how fast you're going. And if you don't use a calculator that differentiates big fractions like this, if you just do something like this, 60, and then say times 60, you might get this answer, where instead of dividing by the second 60, you multiplied. And so I recommend using a calculator like this, where you can see exactly what you're typing and check it. So cool. That's a good example. I'm gonna let you do the same thing with, and here's some more explanation of it, same problem. But your first quiz question will be, take Usain Bolt, fastest sprinter on earth, world record set in 2009. He reached a speed of 27.5 miles per hour in the middle of his 100-meter sprint. And you're going to tell me what that is in feet per second. So same conversion, but with different numbers. See if you can figure that out. And then, okay, so that's your quiz question. Quiz one. And then there's a lot more you can do with unit conversions. You could take a unit, like maybe we found you're traveling 22 feet per second. How far do you go in 10 seconds? It's an interesting question. The units, when you set them up right, notice feet divided by second, the second is on the bottom. You can combine different numbers, and whatever the units cancel as, that's what you're left as. So 10 seconds times 22 feet per second means you've traveled 220 feet in 10 seconds. Okay. Maybe I'll do one more example. I'll do this one with you, and then we'll do some more in class. So this example, if you feel like you're still wanting to see exposure to this problem, pay attention. If not, you can skip ahead. Actually, all these topics, if you already have learned them, some of you may know unit conversions. See if you can take the quiz. If you pass the quiz, or you know how to do the question, you can skip that portion of the video and go ahead. But I'm guessing most of you would like to see this. How do you find the cost of 3 kilometers of wire if it's $2 per meter? So the way I would do a problem like this, something you don't know how to do. Well, $2 per meter is the cost of wire. I'm going to write that unit down. And we got 3 kilometers of wire. And what do we want to get? We just want to get the total cost. So that's going to be the units of dollars. Okay, any other information we need to know? Well, to get from kilometers to meters, we need to know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Okay, so that's our other bit of information. So now let's try piecing it together. You can start with either one, but if you start from the unit that has the simplest, maybe that'll help. Let's start with 3 kilometers. Or trial and error is also a really good way. Like maybe start with $2 per meter and see what you can get. But I'll start with 3 kilometers. And we know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Notice I put the kilometer on the bottom so it cancels. Okay, so that's how many meters we're left with. And if I take this unit here, I'm going to pay $2 for each meter, so I can multiply $2 per meter And notice the meters then cancel, and I'm left with 3 times 100,000 times 2. And the only unit remaining is dollars. That's what we want. So we're paying $6,000 for 3 kilometers of wire. Okay, so there's some practice, some exposure. Take a break and solve the first question if you haven't, and we'll go on to taxes. All right. So taxation is something that has existed for millennia, and we've evolved different systems of taxing. The most simple method of taxation is the flat tax. This means no matter how much income you make, you're charged a constant percent rate. So let's look at that example. Flat tax. You make $30,000 in a year, and if the government charges a flat tax of 10%, well, 10% of 30,000 is 30,000 times 0.1. Remember, we have to take that 10% and convert it to a decimal by moving the decimal place. Or think about it this way, good review. A percent is out of 100, 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. That's how we get this kind of conversion. So flat tax means you're paying 10% of 30,000, which is 3,000. Okay, that's the simplest tax system. Now let's look at what's called the progressive tax. This is what the United States uses. This is where you are charged a certain amount, but as your income increases, you start paying a higher amount. So a tax bracket is the way this is presented to us. So in the United States in 2019, any income between 9,700, 0 and 9,700 is charged 10%. So if you make $8,000, you are just charged tax rate on that income. So 10%, $8,000, simple. So make low income taxes are really simple. But if you make above that tax bracket, if you make somewhere more than 9,700, you're charged 2 different tax rates. Okay, so suppose you make, oops, the right one here. Suppose you make just over that. Suppose you make $10,000. Okay, your income is divided up into 2 parts. The first tax bracket, this is called the first bracket, you're charged every dollar beneath 9,700, you're charged 10% for. You're charged 970. But any income beyond that, so notice you have $300 beyond 9,700. So these add up to 10,000. That amount of money is charged the second tax bracket. So here's the first tax bracket. The second tax bracket, you're charged 12%. Oh, you're charged just a little bit more. What is that? See if I can do this in my head. Boom, boom. $36. Okay. Add that up, and for the first bracket, you're paying 9,700. For any income in the second bracket, you're paying 36. Add it up, so you're paying $1,006. So that's how a progressive tax works. And you notice that's the second bracket. Notice the higher you get, fourth, the percentage rate increases. You pay more and more. So that's called a progressive tax. A regressive tax would be the opposite, where the incomes get less as we go down. And so that's only we see that in certain areas of business, and generally that's not a preferred system. And okay, so this is the basics of our tax system. In solving a problem, firstly, you find out what income you're taxed on. It's called taxable income. And then you apply your income into the different brackets that it falls into. So let's look at another example. 30,000 taxable income. Here's how you can break it up. The first tax bracket, for which you pay 10%, is 9,700. So you're paying, if you max out the first tax bracket, it's always 9,700 times 10%. So 9,700. That's what you pay for the first bracket. Okay. For the second, any income above 9,700, you can calculate as 30,000, your taxable income minus 9,700. And that's charged a rate of 12%. So we could calculate that by saying 30,000 minus 9,700 times 12%. And whatever that is, you add it to this. And I've done this all at once. I've taken the first bracket, added to the second bracket. And so you get 3,406. Let's look at that in Desmos. You want to see how to calculate this thing in Desmos? 9,000 times 10%, that's your first bracket. Sorry, 9,700. And the second bracket was 30,000 minus 9,700. And we're paying 12% on that second bracket. So that's the tax bracket, the taxes for your second bracket, 2436. Then you add those together. I can say this plus this and do it all at once. Okay, so that's simple calculations of taxes. Okay, so here's a little bit you can read if you're curious on why the IRS tax tables look a little different sometimes. It has to do with some kind of averaging, but this is so close. You got the right understanding. The difference in a few dollars is just some technicality in the way they divide up tax brackets. Okay. So here's a quiz question for you. You make $50,000 of taxable income. How much money do you pay? Okay. And since it gets kind of complicated, I'm going to show you how to use a spreadsheet. Well, it's not complicated. It's just there's the approach for this is you say, hey, what bracket does this fall into? Notice 50,000 lies in this bracket. So I'm going to be paying taxes on this bracket, and this bracket. So I'm going to show you how to set this up also in Excel. Okay. So for Excel, we can use formulas. I'll show you how to do that. Here's our tax bracket. And so let's look at the first tax bracket. That's the first tax bracket is everything from 0 to 9,700. So in the first bracket, we're paying taxes on $9,700. So the total taxes I pay on that are 9,700. I can click on this cell and then multiply by the tax rate for that cell. Aha, and you hit return, it makes 9,700 to be your income. Let's make this a little bigger. Okay, so for the second tax bracket, we're looking at everything from 39,475, everything from that down to 9,700. So every income in this range is charged the 12% rate. So I'm going to put an equal sign here. That's how much income is in the second bracket. You see how I get this? It's this number minus this. It's this number minus this number. And that's what I'm charged 12% on. So I take this times this. All right. And then the third bracket is the bracket for which I fall into. So if I make 50,000, I'm paying income in this bracket for 50,000 minus 39,475, everything in this bracket. So everything below this value, we've already paid taxes on, and now we're paying taxes just on the amount above this. So, whoops, undo, and if I hit return, now I'm gonna say, hey, I wanna know how much taxes I'm paying for this amount at the rate of 22%. And just to note, these, even though these are written as percentages, Excel knows they're also a decimal. So that's what we're using in calculating these. Okay, so this is the taxes I've been paying. These are what I'm paying taxes for. So to add those up, we can say sum parentheses and highlight these guys. And that is taxes. Okay. All right. Very generous there. We've solved that one. Now remember, we're talking about taxable income. There's something nice that the United States does, is that not all of your income is taxed. We figure you need some money to live on. And so if you make below a certain amount, that amount of money is not taxed. And that's what's called a deduction. So deductions reduce your taxable income. And here are what the deductions are for 2019. If you're single, any money you make below 12,200 is not taxed. The deduction does. So let's look at the example of you're single, you make $30,000 of income. Well, you don't pay taxes on all 30,000. You actually get a deduction of 12,200, meaning the remaining 17,800 is what you will be taxed. That's your taxable income. So now this amount here, I should use my pencil, is what you're paying taxes on. So to calculate taxes by hand, let's go back to the table. If you have this table, it's super nice. You can modify it, okay? Maybe my taxable income is, what do we say, 17, well, we did it this way, 30,000 minus your deduction, 12,200. That's what your taxable income is. If you hit an equal sign in front, it calculates it. So we're now not in the third bracket. We're not paying taxes on this bracket here. Our income that's taxed falls in this bracket. So that's where we pay taxes on. We could say, hey, I'm going to pay taxes on this value here minus the previous bracket. And I delete that row. Notice this is already updated. It took this number, this bracket of taxable income, multiplied by the tax rate for that bracket, the tax rate for that bracket, and added them up. So that's your tax rate. So now I think I've talked enough. I need to let you practice this. I'll ask you a few more quiz questions on this, and then we'll be able to come to class. Come to class with questions if any of this is confusing you, because it's a great time to work. Okay, we've solved that one. So these will be clicker questions in class. So meaning you don't have to work on them now, practice them now if you want, but we'll talk about it more in class. Oh, and the last topic is a tax credit. Tax credits are easy. They are just they're basically money. It's money that you get deducted from your total taxes that you paid. So whereas a deduction is subtracted before you pay your taxes, a tax credit means after you calculate your total taxes, it just subtracts the amount of money you make. So in this example, suppose you have this much taxes, but you have a tax credit, or maybe either installing solar or you have kids or whatever. If you have a tax credit of $2,000, we would take your total taxes and subtract the credit. Do that there. Meaning, oh, the government owes you $58. So this is possible. It's possible to get money back after you apply all the taxes. And this was the case for me last year. I have 2 kids. Even though I make $49,000, there's enough tax credits that I got money back. All right, so that's the basics of taxes. And some of you might find this interesting. You'll love it. Some of you will hate it. But either way, it's good to have a basic understanding of it. So come to class on Thursday, ready to ask questions, and we'll solve a few more problems to make sure we got an understanding of this. All right, see you then.